As you can see, we have freshly picked eggplants from our backyard, and the way I'm preparing them is that I'm removing the stem and the calyx from the eggplant because that does have a lot of thorns and I don't want any thorn to get into the actual preparation. If it is not thorny, you can keep it in. It imparts some flavor, but I prefer to remove it. Now these eggplants are going to be cooked inside the oven, so I don't want them to burst while they're cooking, and that's why I'm going to put in some slits to let the steam escape. So make sure to do that for every eggplant that you process. Next, I'm going to apply some oil on each eggplant so that the skin crisps up, and now these are ready to go into the oven. Now we are going to use the oven, the broil as well as the baking function to cook these. To give it a head start while the oven is warming up, heating up, I am just starting the cooking process in a cast iron pan on the stove, and then I will transfer it once it's preheated into the oven, cook it for about 10 minutes there, and then put it on high broil for almost 20 minutes, flipping them occasionally to make sure that the skin is evenly charred and crispy. I'm preheating the oven to 450 Fahrenheit. The oven has preheated to 450 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to place the cast iron pan inside the oven and let the eggplants cook for 10 minutes. Flip them halfway through the cooking process for even cooking. While the eggplants are cooking in the oven, we will grill some chilies. This will impart a very nice taste to the grilled eggplants. So we will grill these on a small pan on the stove top. Make sure that you put a slit in your chilies so they don't pop. I forgot to do that with one of them, and they just burst out. As you can see, the seeds on the stove, and once they will cook really quickly in about 3 or 4 minutes. Just flip them over as they cook. So the rest of the ingredients that we require for this recipe are curry leaves. These are freshly picked curry leaves from the backyard. We have garlic, ginger, our grilled chilies, half a cup of shredded coconut. You'll get this in any grocery store. Make sure to get the unsweetened shredded coconut. You have raw peanuts. You can have them with the peels on, without the peels, it really doesn't matter. I had these with the peels on. These are, this is peanut powder. This is 1/4 cup of peanut powder, and this is 2 cups of finely diced white onion, yellow onion. So now I'm moving on to the spices that will go into this eggplant. So we took those grilled chilies along with 2 tablespoons of grated garlic and 1 tablespoon of grated ginger, and then I'm going to just put in about a tablespoon of water in this and blend it into a fine paste, which we'll add as a spice. Our resultant paste, it's coarse, it doesn't need to be very fine. You can use all of it or just a couple of tablespoons. You really need to adjust it to your taste. I would recommend starting off with just 1 tablespoon, tasting your curry and then adding more, because this is really going to be the base of your flavor profile. And after about 10 minutes of cooking at 450 Fahrenheit, I'm switching the function to broil, and then I'll let this broil for 20 minutes, checking on them frequently, turning it around and making sure that they are well cooked. The way to do that is to make sure that the skin gets really crispy. So it's been about 20 minutes after we started broiling them. As you can see, they are nicely charred. You can hear the skin has become a little crisp. So these are done, and it's time to move on to our next step. So now we need to just peel the eggplants and remove this charred peel. It doesn't have to be that you remove every single piece of the charred peel. A little bit is okay, but you want to get the majority of the peel off. and then just keep the fleshy part of the eggplant. So we'll throw this in the trash, and then we'll reserve the rest of the fleshy part for cooking it further. And if there are too many seeds in your eggplant, then you would want to maybe try and scrape it off. So for example, this one is quite tender, it doesn't have as many seeds, but if you can see, this one has quite a few seeds. So I will end up just picking out the majority of the seeds and then also not using them, but I will use the rest of the pulp.
I've separated the peels from the eggplant flesh. I have mashed it up so it's really pulpy. The color is now darker. This is basically because I couldn't get all the peel out. Also cooking it in the cast iron, there's some oxidation, so it's definitely darker. And it's really fine. You can keep it stringy if you want, or you can just cut it, but I chose to mash it up with a potato masher. What we have here is about 1 3/4 cups of eggplant pulp. While the eggplant was cooking, I went to the backyard and picked some scallion leaves, which I'll finely cut and then add to the curry.
So we are going to start cooking our eggplant. I've used the same cast iron pan. As you can see, I did not clean out the charred remains of the eggplant. I want that taste to be infused into my preparation. If you don't want that grilled taste, you can use another pan, clean this out, that's fine, but I chose to use it. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of oil, and we'll let this heat up till it starts shimmering a little, indicating that it's hot and ready for us to cook. Okay, first we are going to start with our onions. We're going to fry these till they're slightly transparent, and then we'll start adding the rest of our ingredients. The very first thing to add are our curry leaves. I've chopped them up finely so that it's easier to eat them. You don't have to eat entire leaves. Next, add the shredded coconut and our peanuts. And since these are raw peanuts, it's going to take a couple of minutes for them to cook through. You do want to cook them till they start becoming a little crispy. They will of course not be crispy in the end product, but you do want to start getting them to a point where they're slightly roasted before you proceed with the next steps. So next, we will add all of that ginger, garlic and chili paste. I will follow it on with the peanut powder. So it's been cooking for about 3 minutes, and I did turn down the heat now. Next ingredients, which are the spice powders, are really optional. The turmeric, it's something that is used to impart some color, and it's supposed to also be very good for your health. Half a teaspoon of turmeric, give it a quick stir, and I have that mixed well. And now I'm adding what is called garam masala. Garam masala is a mixture of various whole spices which have been roasted and then powdered. So this imparts spice as well as fragrance to your end product. Again, this is optional. We have the ginger and the garlic and all of these other ingredients, the coconut and the peanuts, which are giving it a lot of flavor. Actually, before I add the eggplant in, I'm going to add the rest of our ingredients, which is the green onions. These are again from our backyard, so that's in there now. We don't really need to cook them too much. They're going to keep cooking further, and then I'm going to add the rest of the last ingredient, which is our eggplant pulp. So
we are adding our eggplant pulp in. It's up to you how you want to keep the texture. Like I said, I mashed it up really fine. You could keep it coarse or stringy. This is going to be a dip at the end of it, so that's why I wanted it to have a smoother texture. And then once it's in, give it a good stir and mix it up really well so that it's mixed in with all the spices.
in this recipe, now let's see what all have we used from the backyard. We have our eggplants. These are small Indian eggplants, as well as we have the Black Beauty eggplants that we picked from our backyard today. We have green onion leaves, Indian chilies, as well as super chilies, and curry leaves. So the majority of the ingredients, especially from a spice perspective, adding flavor, are from the backyard, and of course our star ingredient, which is the eggplant. And as you can see, with this texture, it looks like more like a dip. So it is a very close cousin of baba ganoush, and it's just, has additional spices, a different kind of spices. So this will taste great with a flat bread, with any kind of tortilla or crackers. You can just serve it as a dip with bread and cheese. The last step is adding the salt. So this will probably require, and I usually adjust this based on my taste, similar to the spice level, about 2 teaspoons of salt. So that's what I'm putting in here, and then I will definitely give it a taste to adjust any seasonings before I eat it. And the best way to serve this, and that'll be our that's how I'm going to end it, to show you how it's served, is to add a little bit of oil on top of it, just like you would with some hummus, to make it a bit richer. So it gets really a depth of flavor with some oil that has not been heated up, and a good quality olive oil will go really well with this. Okay, so now we are ready for our final presentation. So like I said, I'm going to drizzle a little bit of oil on top of it, about a teaspoon of oil. You can add more as well, really based on your preference. And then just garnish it with a little bit of those green onions. And now for the taste test, I'm going to put some of it along with the peanuts onto our cracker. So this is on a multigrain cracker. Here you go.
The cracker and this dip, the taste is good.